Hey everyone, in this video I want to talk about property price appreciation and depreciation, and we'll dig into the factors that affect that, and we'll also talk about how it affects it from market to market. So, quick definitions. Appreciation, as most of us know, is they just measuring the increase in value of a property, asset, product, service. In this case, we'll just be talking about real estate and homes. So it can occur when there's a change in demand and supply of that service, product, or asset. And you'll see that demand and supply will be our main tagline when we're looking at changes in value. So on the flip there, depreciation is a decrease in the value of an asset. And it can decrease in value just over time in general, or as a result of wear and tear. So factors that cause property price appreciation. And I'm just looking at appreciation here because depreciation will basically just be the inverse of that. So, number one, infrastructure development. Transit and connectivity will drive growth of an area. So, when there's growth or an increase in population, we'll have more people looking for homes, which leads to higher demand, which leads to higher prices. So think about it this way: is like obviously if you have an area that's up and coming, they're adding office complex, shopping malls, working on their infrastructure, adding train stations, hospitals, educational facilities. That makes everything more accessible. It makes a more desirable area, and more people want to move there, live there, and therefore prices go up. So, upcoming, number two, upcoming or available amenities. So, I have here the example I want to use. It's pretty basic and it's probably more relatable towards renters. But if you consider a parking space, personally, if you're looking at two different properties, whether it's apartment or house, and property A has a parking space and property B doesn't, then you probably find some more value in property A, and therefore you're willing to pay more for that. So, big picture, as long as you upgrade your property or you keep adding amenities or fixing the amenities, then that property value will go up. Local development. So, this will tie into infrastructure development, but this is more so for neighborhood and social infrastructure. As I mentioned earlier, educational facilities are very important. And if you think about it in terms of a family deciding where to move, they would probably look at a neighborhood that is close to highly rated schools, maybe a neighborhood that's safer or very accessible. And that neighborhood will go up in value because more families are trying to move into that neighborhood. Therefore, more families are trying to buy a home. Policy changes. Lower lending rates lead to more buyers and demand. So as the Fed right now is hiking rates, our rates are going up, which means more people are just priced out of the market, right? Either payments are too high for their liking or they simply don't qualify. So if we take this back to 2020, 2021, when rates were 3, 4% and such, more people qualified and more people liked the payments at that rate. So that's why we had bidding wars on every house that came onto the market. And ultimately, prices were driven up because of those rates and all the buyers on the market. Economic situation. So, inflation plays a big role as well. So, as inflation goes up, the dollar value goes down. So, that means that, for example, builders will need to spend more on construction materials and getting houses built. So, they need to charge more as well. So as long as the other factors are in play, home prices will go up as inflation goes up as well. And supply and demand, like I mentioned, that's going to be the big overarching theme. It's really just a question of what the supply is like and what the demand is like to determine whether prices appreciate or depreciate. And all these other factors do play a role. But I do get asked a lot, what makes home prices fall? And to keep it very simple and straightforward, it's excess supply and or a decline in demand. So it could be one or the other or a combination of both. So to illustrate this, or just to make a point on supply, I want to show you this graph here that I pulled from Fred. And this just measures the months of supply of new houses in the US over time. And the shaded areas on this graph reflect recession periods. So if we look at this big area over here, that's the highest point in supply that we have seen. This is during the time of the 2006, 2008 recession here. So we can see the supply was at an all-time high, which meant that builders were just building like no other, and there just wasn't as many people to buy those homes. So prices went down in order to satisfy that. And we can see that supply is also kind of getting higher over here in this current time period, but it is cresting. But we also have higher demand. We have more household formations. So that's what counteracts that. And then just for reference here too, we here have the Case-Shiller U.S. National Home Price Index. Again, the shaded areas are recessionary periods. So we'll see here in this first one, prices remained flat or slightly negative, but recovered pretty quickly. In 2001, home prices actually went up. And the only significant decrease in home prices during a recession was because that recession was caused by the housing bubble. And there are many factors that went into that. It's definitely a multivariable equation. Always just showing that supply is one factor. But that's that their prices went down, but over a long period of time, they recovered. So if you are buying a primary residence to hold for a longer period of time, a recessionary period like this, where it lasts for a few years, isn't that significant in your long-term plan. Where then prices went up here, and even here it was COVID in 2020, prices did go up and even spiked up further. And to further illustrate the demand portion of this, here is a YouTube video I just wanted to share of the mass exodus of California and people leaving. So you can imagine as we play this and we're seeing people leave over to different areas, that the demand for housing in those areas increased and the demand for housing in the areas that people left from California decreased. So I'm going to actually kind of fast forward this. You're going to see the darker blue in California means that more people left. So you could expect those areas to have lower demand. And then the darker red, as you're seeing over here in Seattle, Las Vegas, over the Nevada, Arizona area, that's where people went to. So you could expect the demand in that area to increase and prices to increase. And as well, you'll see some areas in Texas, Colorado, Utah, Idaho, and people moving to Chicago and other areas around. So hopefully that illustrated exactly what we were trying to show here, and hopefully that answered any questions that could have been had. But if you do have questions or you have any comments you want to make, please let me know. And if there are other topics that you want me to cover, then let me know that as well. And as always, please like and subscribe, and I hope you have a great night.